We start with the defending Stanley Cup champs, the Vegas Golden Knights. They acquired the best D-man available, Noah Hanifin. What a score from the Calgary Flames last night. And that's not all. If you buy now, they also acquired Anthony Mantha from Washington, who was certainly useful there. So look at what Vegas has done this week, and there are some conditional picks, and you can protect a pick here and there. But the bottom line is, everybody loves Hanifin. Mantha certainly very useful. It certainly seems like, Vegas is trying to defend their crown and trying to go back-to-back. They're not done.
Trying. I mean, This is like forcing yourself on it. They're not done yet because they're still in on Jake Guentzel. If they don't get him, I expect them to get another forward as well. That's because they retained so little of Noah Hanifin's cap. They're paying just $1.25 million for a top pairing defenseman. But this is their MO. They are hyper-competitive. They are hyper-aggressive ever since they entered the league. Just think of the guys that they've gotten at this time of year in their history. Mark Stone, Chandler Stevenson, Barbashev last year, Robin Lehner, all guys that have been so important to the fabric of the organization. Back in the day, they were after Erik Karlsson, too. Jack Eichel. They just go after what they like, and they'll figure it out later. So a lot of teams rolling their eyes saying, how is this so uncanny? Second year in a row, Mark Stone goes on LTIR, and they can spend that $9.5 million cap space. I know, it's so silly, right? One of the teams lodged a formal complaint last year. The NHL looked into it, and they were like, I'm sorry, we prodded. We couldn't find anything sketchy about the timeline. Trust me, the Golden Knights would much rather have Mark Stone on the ice than his cap space to spend. But here we are. They are the team to beat.
Because it's the Kucherov thing in Tampa, right? Everybody's looking at Vegas.
Until it gets fixed, teams are still going to figure out ways to flood the system.
Right. And Messi and I talked about it the other day with PK. It's like, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Sure.
And you're trying to do everything. And they're not playing particularly well right now, Vegas either. So they need this injection here.
They absolutely do. I think the memo of this team, if you think about them from year one, they were the golden misfits. It was us against the world. And even though they became the villains of the league that kept winning, they've still kept that identity. So they're not satisfied. Even the day after they won the Stanley Cup last year, the front office is plotting how we're going to win another championship. They're never satisfied, and I think that's what's going to propel them.
If you're a fan of that team, you love that attitude from the front office.
Long-suffering fan base.
Right, exactly. Another team out west made some big moves yesterday. Don't sleep on your Colorado Avalanche. Acquired Sean Walker from the Flyers in exchange for a first-round pick, and Ryan Johansson was then waived. Colorado's blue line gets a boost with Walker, who's having a terrific season. Also a pure hockey trade, as opposed to other hockey trades which involve cash. Trading young defenseman Bo Byram, who I know they liked, in exchange for Casey Middlestat, which apparently they like even more. Expected to slot in as that second-line center. Still trying to figure out how to replace Kadri from the Cup year, of course. So they add Walker, Middlestat, also Brandon Duhaime, who a lot of people liked as well from Minnesota. Lose Johansson, Byram, a first-round pick. That's projected top 10, so we'll see. A lot of people certainly fascinated by what Colorado has done. What do you make of the Avalanche's moves here?
All right, with a Levy and a Kaplan at the desk, I can feel like there's a lot of chutzpah from GM Chris McFarland. You said they love Bowen Byram. I mean, they drafted this kid number 4 overall. He was on their Stanley Cup team. So to part with him when he's just entering his prime is a really big move. But they get 2 physical defensemen in Duhaime, like you mentioned. A lot of people like him, and Sean Walker. And I think this is the team saying, this is our time. Gabe Landeskog is starting to practice with the team.
Oh, you just dropped the Gabe Landeskog.
I sure did. If we want to talk about that LTIR space. And I talked to people close to Gabe Landeskog. He's really keen on playing in the playoffs. Now, I think the team is so unsure because of the surgery that he had. It's so unprecedented. If he has one setback, it's back to square one. But if you have your captain going that hard to play in the playoffs, and again, if he has a setback, maybe we never see him again, why not push all of your chips into the table for this year? I love what they're doing.
And that's kind of serves as a trade. And instead of making a trade, you get an injured player back. So, in essence, an
injured captain
new
back.
player with incredible skills. What other moves are you expecting maybe from Colorado at this point?
I think they're done. They have to be done, right?
I don't know.
They were sniffing around initially on Chris Tanev. You see them get the 2 defensemen instead.
Yeah.
I know that they were looking at Jake Guentzel. I'm not sure how far along they made in the sweepstakes, but this team that I see right here, this is a good team with a lot of additions.
And then it becomes an arms race, right? Because the other teams out west start seeing what these teams, Vegas, Colorado, are doing, and then you got to see what the Edmonton Oilers are going to do here, right? Edmonton making a move as well. I'm a massive Adam Henrique fan. Sam Carrick coming over from the Ducks yesterday as well in exchange for picks. And again, when you're going for the Cup, you're not so worried about draft picks in a year or 2 or 3 years away. This conditional pick, retaining some of Henrique's salary. Again, the Oilers today also a bit of a minor move that might have slipped by. They acquired Troy Stetcher from the Coyotes. Also added Stetcher in a 7th-round pick in exchange for a 4th-round pick. A lot of people like the Oilers in the West now. They keep winning these close games. They come from behind in the 3rd period. A lot of firepower. What about Edmonton now?
You know, initially they were looking for a goalie. They searched really hard for a goalie the first half of the season. And now they feel like they're good with Stu Skinner. They're going to give Calvin Pickard some more starts, but they feel okay in that position. I like the moves that they made. It didn't really wow me. But you also have to think the chemistry has been really mostly good under Chris Knoblauch. There's still been some inconsistency, but that's a group that's really tight-knit. And, like, Cody Ceci was a player that probably would have had to be moved out if they brought in someone like Chris Tanev. And he's so popular in the locker room. I think they thought about that and considered those type of things while making these moves. Now, I'm not convinced that they're done yet. I know they wanted Guentzel. They felt like their offer wasn't going to compete with what Carolina or New York or Vegas was going to be able to offer. But maybe Jordan Eberle gets a little look there if his contract extension doesn't get done in Seattle.